What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Going Rounds podcast, episode 64. About to get into some recap of the Prime card, which was kind of a letdown. I don't know what anybody else was expecting, but I'm not sure I was expecting it to be that shitty. But that's just me. I don't know. Maybe other people enjoyed it, but we'll get into it a little bit here. And yeah, just kind of see what's going on with that. Also, we have a big UFC card this weekend, UFC 294. It's an early card here in the States because it's happening in Abu Dhabi. So, they got to make sure that they're having things happening in prime time over there for them. That's a big location for the UFC when it comes to the events. So they keep it at prime time on that side. So rare early event for a UFC pay-per-view, but it is a decent card, I think. I mean, there was a big shakeup there going on with the two main events, or the main event and the co-main event, I should say. So we'll get into that too. There's been news surrounding that back and forth, and kind of I guess you could say rumors and whatnot, but it is what it is. And it looks like everything is going down as planned. So that should be good. Let's see what else we got going on. Not a whole lot. I mean, this week is kind of weird. There was so much going on the past couple of weeks with the Prime card stuff and Dylan Danis and Logan Paul and all their drama. And this week was just kind of tame. The event got over with last week, and now this week it's like the UFC's here, a little bit of stuff happening in the background with that, but nothing crazy. So not a whole bunch of different news or crazy news going on in the media this week. So yeah, we still got some stuff to talk about though, and I am excited for this card this weekend. And I'm excited to be having the Watch Party podcast happening on Saturday live during the main event. We will be live, and I will hopefully have some different guests. I had a couple people tell me they would pop in here and there, previous guests from the podcast. So don't forget to join in. Same channel, same YouTube channel right here, Going Rounds Podcast YouTube channel. This will be Saturday, 11 a.m. Arizona time, but account for that in whatever time zone you're in. If you go to UFC events, if you Google that, it'll take you right to a page that'll tell you where it is in your location. But during the main card, if you're watching the UFC pay-per-view main card, when that starts, you can throw on the podcast and listen to my reactions and my takes on any of the fights going on, live, everything. And hopefully I'll have some good guests on, and anytime I don't, I'll be keeping it going with just me talking, which, a little weird with just one person, but hey, reaction videos, they are what they are. And I'm here to do one on Saturday live during the UFC 294 pay-per-view main event. So don't forget about that. I'll remind you again throughout the podcast. Yeah, so let's get into all this because I definitely have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Prime card and what happened during that event. It's influencer type boxing and whatnot. But I still like to cover it because there's plenty going on, and it has an MMA aspect to it because there's been a bunch of ex-MMA fighters or current MMA fighters that have gone over into that area and boxed influencers slash YouTubers slash whatever you want to call them. So I think we should get into that first because I have a lot to say about that one. So here we go. We'll start with the Prime card. And don't forget, everybody that's here right now, the chat is open. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts on any of the topics I'm talking about at the moment, feel free to jump in. I like to interact with everybody in the chat, unless you're being a dick, and then I might not interact with you. But either way, it's been good lately. So if you want to jump in, feel free, and I'll see it when I see it, and I'll get to it. So here we go. KSI versus Tommy Fury. Logan Paul versus Dylan Danis, the Prime card for Misfits Boxing. happened this past Saturday. And if you watched it, you might not have been happy. There was drama, of course, as always. And that's usually the most entertaining part of Misfits Boxing, is the drama. Sometimes it's a little too corny for my liking, especially with these YouTubers that like to, I don't even know how to say it, just fucking act stupid, I guess. But they get likes, they get views, they get interactions, they get all of it. So I guess I can't talk too much shit because they're doing it and they're making money from it. So I can't down on that. And you know what? When it comes down to it, in the end, I have to respect someone that's willing to get in there and take on a real I'm not gonna say a real fight. I'm gonna say go in there and be willing to get punched, or at least the thought of getting punched. You step into that ring, you have your gloves on, you know, you don't have a shirt on, you got some shorts on. That takes a lot of guts. I mean, a lot of people might not think of it about it that way, but I have to give respect where it's due, and there's a little bit of respect to be given in that aspect. Not a lot of people want to step into a ring when they don't have a lot of experience, when they're used to being behind a camera like this, when they're used to being in front of a microphone, when they're used to just talking to themselves in a camera or talking to people out there on YouTube. A lot of people don't want to get in there and see if they have what it takes. Some people just street fight. What I used to do. I never did any real organized fighting, I should say, except for maybe some sparring in my backyard with my buddy Marshall back in the day. We got into that and it was crazy, and it was not very skilled or technical, but it was fun, and I don't know what the fuck we were doing, but we did it. But again, it takes guts to do that when you know you're gonna get punched in the face, get punched in the head, get punched in the stomach. Taking a punch because you want to, it's a whole different thing. So I have to say that ahead of time, that I do give them at least this much respect for getting in there and doing it. I mean, if you're there if you're in the seat of not Dylan Danis, but if you're in the seat of KSI and Logan Paul, who are sit in front of millions of people and make videos and they know everyone's gonna see it, you know, that can be a little crazy too. Tommy Fury is a real boxer. He's a professional boxer. He has a brother who is one of the best boxers in the world right now, if not the best. And then Dylan Danis is just an MMA fighter, and I say that because he's barely an MMA fighter. He's a jiu-jitsu practitioner. High level, be it, but he's not very high level when it comes to MMA. So striking is not his thing. So for him to have gotten in there and make a fool of himself as he did, because I'm sure by now everyone knows, that I guess that takes some guts, or you're just stupid. That might be it too. These are just my thoughts and opinions on the thing. I don't know how everyone else felt about it. I hate to be negative about it, honestly. I do hate to be negative about it. But the problem is, a lot of what happened was just like big time what the fuck moments. Like, what are we doing here? Why is this happening? Why did you even box? Why did you even agree to this? Now, these guys are making money, so I gotta say that's why, and I understand that. If I was making the money to do it too, it'd be tough. If I knew I was gonna get my ass handed to me, or at least made to look like a fool, I might second guess that. But at the same time, money talks, right? You gotta secure the bag sometimes, and that's what happened here. When it comes to Dylan Danis, I don't think he had real beef with Logan. I think he's just a troll. I think he did it all for the money, the clout, the fame, or the possibility of fame. He didn't prove shit. He had nothing to prove because he doesn't have the skills to prove it. Does Logan Paul have the skills to prove it? Judging from this fight, I would say a smidge more than Dylan Danis. A smidge. I don't know. Maybe that's fucked up, but that's how I feel about the whole thing. And I saw a lot of shit going around from everybody online hating on all of this, and I understand. And I understand completely. And I'm not gonna not hate on it, because there's parts of it I actually really fucking hated. and I thought it was stupid. And we're going to get into that as soon as I take a drink. And I guess to sum up the intro to this, the KSI Tommy Fury fight, I wouldn't say it was great either, but it was definitely better, once again by a smidge, over the Logan Paul Dylan Danis fight. I think the chaos that happened in the ring, which we'll get to in a minute as well, I feel like that was more entertaining than any of these two fights put together, honestly. But that's because people like drama, people like chaos, and there was definitely all of that happening in the ring after the official fight between Logan Paul and Dylan Danis was up. So, what more is there to really say? Hey, let's just get into the actual fight. Logan Paul versus Dylan Danis first, because they were the first on the card. They were not the last fight on the event, which usually is called the main event. Apparently, this was called a double main event, but Dylan Danis and Logan Paul took the ring first, and again, not impressive. Here's my biggest problem, and this is why this was so just fucking annoying and cringy, because you have Dylan Danis again. I will reiterate this over and over and over again. He is a fucking troll. That's what he likes to do. That's what he does. I don't know what else to say. If you don't know that that's what he does, and if you don't know that that's how he is, then you're not paying attention. You don't get it. You don't understand. And that's fine, because some people just take it for what it is. For me, I know what he does, and I know why he does it. Whether or not that's good, I don't know. But the thing is it's annoying, is what it is. It's fucking annoying. So, while being annoying, there was a fight happening, and they did fight. But with Dylan Danis doing what he did, taking it as far as he did with Logan Paul's fiance, getting a lawsuit started against him, getting a restraining order taken out against him, and continuing with the bullshit, I don't know what else to say except for, why the fuck would Logan Paul not want to go in there and just wreck this fool? Like, fuck him up. Because guess what? In the streets, that's what you got to do. There's no fighting smart, because people are going to fight dirty, right? That's just what happens in the streets. But this is a organized boxing match, I guess. And I guess Logan Paul decided he wanted to fight smart. But how do you fight smart when you don't have that much fucking talent? How do you fight smart when you don't have the skills to fight that smart? So you gotta let him fly. You gotta let him fly. What the fuck? You talked all this shit about, I want to murder this fool. I want to fucking end him. I want to knock him the fuck out. I guarantee a knockout. Blah, 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 blah. And then you pull this fucking sanctimonious bullshit of, I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you, Dylan. Shut the fuck up. Come on, man. Nobody came out here to watch you fucking forgive Dylan Danis. The motherfucker that did that to your fiance. Like, what a pussy. That's all I can say. You're fucking pussy. What the fuck, man? You are getting paid to entertain for one night. You don't have another fight to worry about. You don't have to worry about how long it's going to be before you can train again. Shut the fuck up. You say Dylan Danis doesn't have the skills. Dylan Danis is not a striker. Dylan Danis doesn't know how to box. And what the fuck were you doing? Yeah, you may have got the most hits on him. You may have landed the most punches. You may have landed the most significant punches. What the fuck did you really do? You say you beat his ass around the ring all day? Sure. I guess in the total aspect of everything, I guess you beat his ass. Sure, he had some marks on his face. It's what happens when you box and you get landed on. You get marks on your face. The gloves mark you up. It happens. You get punched. Doesn't matter how hard. You get punched, you're going to have a mark. More than likely, you're going to have a mark of some sort. So, yeah, you landed punches, but this I forgive you shit. He said on Impulsive that he didn't want to fight emotional. Why the fuck are you fighting? That's what this turned into. It went from an event that you had an opponent because you wanted to box on this card. You're boxing. What the fuck is boxing? You're fighting, motherfucker. You're throwing hands. That's what you're there to do. So you wanted to fight smart for what? You're not fighting for a fucking belt. You're not fighting to become a contender. You're not fighting to get into an organization that's going to pay you a lot of money to continue to fight. You're not doing any of this. You put this fucking shit together like a little kid does with his fucking toys in his living room. That's what you did because you have the money to do it and you have the pull to do it. And then you let this guy fucking troll you so hard that you feel you have to sue him. But you're not going to beat his fucking ass in the ring? Somebody who you say can't fight is not a real fighter? What were you doing then? This fucking pisses me off. Go in there and beat his fucking ass. If that's what you say you can do, why didn't you do it? Now, I understand that a lot of people can't prove that they can do something without going in there and trying, but this fool said that this is what he was going to do. So, for him to not do it, fucking pisses me off. I didn't even pay for this shit. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it live. I was going to. I wanted to. But I had shit going on. And I didn't care that much. I was like, you know what? The best parts are going to be shown in highlight form on social media. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I actually did look for the fight on TikTok. You know why? Because I didn't know. I had this strange feeling that this was not going to be what it was being worked up to be. So for me, I'm pissed off. I'm disappointed, and I didn't even pay for it. So I feel bad for the people that did pay for it. But you knew what you were getting into, I think. I think you knew what you were getting into, and you just wanted to see what happened. I've done it before. I did it with... But see, Jake Paul actually tries. He's trying to knock a motherfucker out. So I give him props on that. He's a bit above his brother because he takes boxing seriously and he really wants to show and prove that he's a great boxer. So I have to give him props over his brother. And I just don't like the way this went down. Again, you know, Dylan Danis is not a real fighter, you say. He did land some punches on you, and Logan Paul admitted that in his podcast. He said he did land punches on me. You know, you're in the ring for 6 3-minute rounds, I think it was. That's 18 minutes. If you don't get hit in 18 minutes, you're Floyd Mayweather level. And you know Logan Paul's not that because he was in there with Mayweather before, and he didn't come out unscathed. So we know he's not on that level. So of course he's going to get hit. So I can't, you know, you can't down on the dude for getting hit. It's going to happen in a fight. Whether it's an accident, whether it's on purpose, that's what happens in a fight. You get hit. Unless you walk out, throw the first punch, knock the motherfucker out, and it's over. That's the only way you don't get hit. Or if you're just dry humping the dude's leg, well, you're probably still going to get hit because he's going to take swings at you. So, you know, Dylan Danis landed punches. That's a couple here and there. Not much. He didn't even throw that many punches. I think after the first few rounds, he was still in the single digits of punches thrown. Like, I don't know if it even says that here, but I will look and see. Oh, wow. Oh, never mind. That's the... I want to see if they have a stat here at all. Logan Paul. It was a DQ. Yeah, they don't go into it here. I mean, maybe I should have looked that up. I just thought of it now, but who cares? Because it doesn't matter. The numbers don't even matter. They're insignificant because that's almost what this fight was. And the end proved that, because if somebody had something to really lose, that it wouldn't have ended up how it did. But this is a perfect representation of what the entire fight was about. Dylan Danis covering up. He did some weak ass attempt at the Philly shell as well. I mean, if you watch Sean Strickland do it versus Israel Adesanya, I mean, he did it well and it worked. It was effective. But Danis tried to do it and it was embarrassing. Like, it was like me trying to do it, acting like I know what the fuck I'm doing. But this dude is training with professionals and training at a professional level, at least it seems. And he's out there fighting in these boxing matches and in Bellator MMA, and he looks like a full-on amateur, if not less than. So yeah, put him on the ground and do some jiu-jitsu and he's gonna look like a fucking wizard and a master, because he is a black belt. So you have to give him props on that. But I don't know, the striking was just horrendous. It was horrendous. And I didn't expect anything different, I guess, but I really thought that we would get a little more. I thought we would get a little more. I thought he'd be a little more prepared. I thought maybe he would come out and be able to give a little more than he did. But he definitely didn't. And it's a damn shame, because this could have been one of those events where people were talking about for weeks after, because of how great the fight was, and oh, so-and-so knocked out so-and-so. You know what I mean? Logan knocked out Dylan like he deserved. Dylan knocked out Logan and embarrassed him. Neither one of these motherfuckers did anything near a knockout. I don't think anybody got knocked down. Dylan went down a couple times on purpose. But, Logan did land the most punches. He did land the most significant punches, obviously, because he was actually throwing and trying to fight. But he still didn't do what he said he was going to do. And I'm going to keep harping on that. And I'm sorry. I'm annoying myself right now. But it's just fucking annoying that he didn't go out there and try with everything to knock Dylan out. How can you not? How can you play this fucking spiritual fucking thing of I forgive you? Like, that's what he said. He said it over and over again as they were, going toe to toe with the ref, as the ref is explaining, and he's just like, I forgive you. Get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants to hear that. Say it after. Say it after you knock him out. When you knock him out, don't celebrate. Go down to your knees. Act like some of the most respectful guys in the UFC do when they almost feel bad for their opponent because of what they just did to him. Get on your knees. Bow down to him. Tell him, I'm sorry. I forgive you, but I had to. This is what I had to do because of what you did. The proper repercussion for your actions. Get knocked the fuck out. But I guess Logan didn't feel that way. I don't know. But like I said, he did get the most significant punches. He did land the most punches overall. And I guess he got his in on Dylan, according to him. He feels like he's satisfied. I don't know how, though. I just don't. And it just continued to be embarrassing all the way through the fight. And how can I say anything good? I don't know how. This isn't like the worst UFC fight you've seen, because we've seen some stinkers. We've seen some fucked up fights. I hate to even bring it up, but Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza, that was a shitty fight. That was a fucking shitty fight. And both of those women are highly trained and some of the most elite fighters, but they just nullified each other. They were too timid, and it just didn't work. Same with Israel Adesanya versus against Anderson Silva, maybe? Was that no, what am I thinking? What is the fight? Not Paulo Costa, because that was a good fight. God Soldier. What the fuck is his name? God damn it. The older guy. He's just like in his 40s. Man, I can't think of his fucking name. Anyway, that fight where they look like characters in a video game that are squaring up to fight, but you haven't pushed any buttons yet, so they're just standing there doing this. that fight. That was a horrible fight. Ngannou versus Derek Lewis. Horrible fight. But there's still more action in those fights than there was in this fight. I mean, in a UFC fight that sucks, you still know how highly trained and highly talented all those fighters are. Think of those names. You know that they can do more than that. They just had an off night. No one could pull the trigger. It sucks. It's rare and it sucks. So, but still, you know they're gonna come back and fight for real. These fucking guys, they didn't do it. And who knows if Logan or Dylan ever fight again. Dylan's asking to be in the UFC. I don't know how you can even pretend that you're good enough to be in the UFC after that performance. You think Dana White's gonna take you fucking seriously just because you're a high-level jiu-jitsu guy that has zero striking? I mean, half the time Dana's like, unless you can put on a real good show on the ground, if you're not trying to fight and win, I don't want you here. I don't know what Dylan is thinking, asking to be in the UFC, saying UFC's next, like he's already got an offer. If he winds up in the UFC, oh man, I almost feel like I should just shut this all down and be done. Because what the fuck? What are we doing? What are we doing? I mean, when you do shit like this, like, what is he trying? Oh shit, hold on. There's always got to be one time when I fuck something up. Oh, this is why, because I'm pushing the wrong button. There it is. That's hilarious. And that's one of the best shots of Dylan Danis getting hit. Look at his face. His eyes are already busted up, and you could tell, I mean, he's trying hard to keep that guard up, but it didn't work. And Logan found his way through a few times, and this is one of the best shots he had. But this is fucking embarrassing. This isn't, you would think after that picture, that's Dylan Danis getting dropped. Nah, he didn't get dropped. He fell to the ground on his own accord and put his legs up in the air. Does he want Logan to eat his ass? Does he want to get kicked in the nuts? Does he want him to change his diaper? What the fuck is he doing? I hate when guys do this shit. It's one thing if you're in a jiu-jitsu match and you're trying to pull someone to the ground. It's fine. But in a boxing match of all places, why would you do this? It's fucking embarrassing. You know, then he tried to take shots, trying to shoot a single leg, double leg, you know, and this is where Logan got the upper hand because he said, hey, Dylan, I beat you in your own sport. You tried to take me down. You couldn't take me down. You're an MMA fighter. That should be your thing. You tried to choke me and it didn't work. And I defended that too, which he did. He did try to get him in a guillotine at one point in time. I couldn't find any good pictures of that. I don't know why, but it's all these pictures leading up here with the takedown attempts. He tried it multiple times, especially at the end of the fight, right? So then it led up to the point where after he tried to choke him and then he tried to take him down again, I believe it was like a second or two before the bell rang. And for the second time in this fight, Logan Paul's security jumps in and Dylan Danis starts swinging on him. Now, why, Danis, did you not swing on Logan this way? Not once did I see you swing at Logan like you swung at this fucking security guard. Looks like he doesn't know what he's doing either. And I if I remember correctly, this might be that same guy that choked him out at the bar. You know, when Dylan got choked out and put to sleep at the bar when he was getting kicked out or whatever. Either way, he took multiple swings at this guy and he didn't even get close. So you can't even fucking, you know, you can't even get this guy. You can't even punch him. What the fuck? Of course, after this happens, chaos ensued. It started with a few other security guys coming in, this was the event security. I'm sure you got commissioned people in there or whoever the fuck is trying to keep the peace. The ref is right there holding people back. Who knows who's who, except for the guys that say security. Everyone else, it's like, who the fuck is this? But that's, you know, this is the end result. Jake Paul's in the mix of that shit. Phil Hawes, who is a MMA fighter and was cornering Dylan, is in there somewhere. Peter Queeley's in there somewhere. Everyone was fucking in there. Nothing really happened, except I did see a few videos of I did see a few videos of Jake Paul's putting something in one of the security guards' hands and then wiping his nose after the fact, which sounds like maybe he was trying to get rid of his bag so that nobody could catch him with it in case there was some police activity or what. I don't know. But that these were the claims online. Funny. It's funny to, think about. It's funny to talk about. But the video's there, so it's pretty apparent. Not to mention, while they're announcing the winners, Jake Paul's behind Logan, and he's just wiping his nose like over and over, like Conor McGregor style. It's just so obvious. His face is red and flushed. His eyes are all glossed over. I don't know, man. Is he doing some of that cocaine? I don't know. But those are the accusations. I think it's hilarious. I don't know. But yeah, this chaos happened. And here's the thing. The reason why I said who really won. We all know when it comes to the real fight, when it comes to the actual fight, the only person you could give a win in this situation was Logan Paul. He did what looked like the closest thing to boxing that either one of these two did. He landed punches. He landed the most effective punches. So he won the fight, right? Well, the actual result of this fight was disqualification. Logan Paul winning by disqualification, which means Dylan Danis got DQ'd for the multiple takedown attempts and the choke attempt. But here's the thing. After the first takedown attempt, Logan Paul's security stepped a foot into the ring. Now, if you're talking about a real boxing match, if anybody steps in that ring before a bell, you're disqualified. Your team, whoever it is that's stepping in, disqualifies you from that fight. So not only did his security guard jump in once, but he jumped in twice. And all he had to do was step that first foot in, and technically Logan Paul's DQ'd because it's his corner stepping in. Does anybody really care? I don't think so, but I think there'd be a whole lot more talk of a whole lot of things if they actually DQ'd Logan Paul because of this, because of what, like, his security guard stepping in. I mean, it's a valid point, and it's the truth. It's actually what happens in a real fight. But I guess this isn't a real fight, so he gets away with it. He comes away with the win, and he gets to talk shit now and feel like he's correct. And really, with what Dylan Danis did, and more so what he didn't do, he has every right. Logan Paul has every right to talk shit now. So, now that I spent however many minutes on that, like I said, I had a lot to say about that one because I just think it's fucking ridiculous. And if anything, a lot of things going around are saying that this is the beginning of the end of influencer boxing because of how shitty this card was. At least when Jake Paul fights, it's a big thing. And, even though he lost to Tommy Fury in the last fight, there was still a lot of stuff surrounding, a lot of attention. There was a lot of attention on this too, but the aftermath wasn't so volatile like it was with this one. And that's because of the lack of skill and the lack of everything when it came to this fight. So, but KSI versus Tommy Fury, the fight was a little better. I didn't expect KSI to put up as much of a fight as he did. But once again, unfortunately for Tommy Fury, he talked all this shit as well, saying he was gonna KO him in less than 3. And all of this animosity and intensity happening at the face-offs, at the weigh-ins, at the fucking press conferences, all of it was for what? What, you took out all of that anger and frustration on that plexiglass fucking divider in that stupid cage? Is that what it was? Or your dad took away all of the aggression because he doesn't know how to shut the fuck up? I don't know. But if you took even half, if Tommy Fury took even half of the energy and animosity and anger that his dad has, a quarter of it, take a quarter of it, and he would be 4 times the boxer that he is. I hate to say that, but for the second time in a row, Tommy Fury wins a fight against an influencer, but it doesn't look great. It just doesn't. There's still questions around it, especially more against KSI. He pretty much beat Jake decisively enough to be like, yeah, we can just let it go now. He beat him. But with KSI, it's kind of one of those things where KSI caught him a few times, and it was surprising. I was surprised that KSI even put up that much of a fight. Tommy just should have wiped the floor with KSI easily. Because I'm sitting here thinking Jake Paul is definitely a better fighter than KSI overall, no matter what. So there's no way KSI is going to beat Tommy Fury. But he didn't look bad. He didn't look bad. I hate to say that because I feel like KSI is the furthest thing from someone that I want to fucking say I back in any of these fights. I just feel like it's more about how Tommy Fury just didn't show up like he should have. Like, what are you doing? You have the skill. You have the high level training. You've been in these positions, but he's just not a great boxer. So maybe influencer boxing is where he should stay and be that professional boxer that everybody tests themselves against. Because he's never going to get to a higher level of boxing if he doesn't improve where he is now. Fighting these guys, I feel like it should have been a show for him. And instead it seemed like it was just difficult. So, and I mean, even his dad said, John Fury even said he wouldn't have been upset if it was given to KSI because it was not a good showing for Tommy. Everybody has their off days, but to have an off day, like a great boxer on an off day should still wipe the floor with KSI. That's just how I feel. I don't know how other people feel about that, but that's how I feel. And I just think it's a damn shame that Tommy Fury couldn't go out there and show that even more so that he's better than all of these guys. And that's why people are saying this is the beginning of the end of influencer crossover boxing. Now, KSI, Misfits Boxing is KSI's organization, his fight promotion. So will that go away if the numbers go down and he decides that he's not going to fight anymore? Maybe. But until then, he's going to keep doing this, and I guarantee it. Having people like Salt Poppy in the undercard, people talk about how he actually looks pretty good. It's an impressive body transformation on that guy because he was, kind of a schlubby, overweight kind of looking dude. But now he looks like, somewhat athletic and he slimmed down quite a bit. And, that's commendable. And unfortunately he lost his fight. But, these kinds of fights, there's a time and a place for them, and they're doing it. But when they're starting to try to act like these are better than real boxing matches is where I can't agree with that. I can't agree with that being better than all the fighting that goes on, all the combat sports that are happening that are professional with people that train professionally and take it seriously. BKFC is better than this for sure. No doubt. And it's just so many things. But what else can I say? What else can be said except for it's a damn shame that that's how it went down. And I was hoping for more. And I was hoping for more for the simple fact that I covered this because it was, it's entertaining. It's exciting to know, hey, what's going to happen with Dylan Danis because he is part of the MMA community. Unfortunately, I have to admit that. And with all the drama surrounding it, it's coming out of everybody's mouth right now. And of course, this is what I do is cover all of these things. So I'm going to cover it whether or not I fully respect what's happening here. And that's what I did. And now it's over. So we'll see when the next, the next round of influencer / crossover boxing matches happen. We'll see who else they try to bring out of the weeds to fight, to show that they're legit, I guess, to show that it's a legitimate fight. I don't know. We'll see. That's all I can say. As for now, the Prime card is over. It's done. Where's Dylan Danis going to go after this? Who knows? What's Logan Paul going to do after this? Who knows? Will there be more legal action taken? Who cares? It's probably over by now. So, I guess we just wait and see. But the talk about all that is not over, because as I said, what's next? Well, this went around yesterday, I believe, but it came from Nate Diaz, and that's because Jake Paul announced that he's going to be boxing again on December 15th, which I felt was kind of weird. Normally his fights are on Saturday, so why is it on a Friday? Is that correct? Friday, December 5th? I don't know. But this is not legit yet. Like, this is not confirmed. This was Nate Diaz's attempt at baiting Jake Paul in for a rematch. It all looks official. So whoever did it for him did a damn good job, but it is not official. It is not being confirmed. Jake Paul has only come out and said that he's fighting on December 15th. That's as far as it's gone. There is no opponent yet. There is no venue yet. That's all we know, is that he's fighting December 15th, and that's it. So Nate Diaz, though, doing a good job trolling, trying to put it out there in the ether, hoping that something catches. I don't know that I really want to see it again. I would love to see Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz in MMA. But then again, with all of the rumors and stuff surrounding what happened in the first fight and the state that Diaz was in the first fight, I wouldn't mind seeing the second fight if he came in looking like prime Nate Diaz, ready to box like he really knows how to. I feel like he fucked around too much in that fight, and I feel like he could do way better than that if he took it more seriously. So who knows? But that's just a rumor, so don't believe everything you see. People are trying to make things happen, and sometimes it comes to fruition, right? Sometimes these things get leaked. I could see Diaz doing that, saying, hey, fuck you, I'm gonna do what I want, I'm putting it out there, deny it all you want, the shit's happening. And he did it. Or maybe this is him again, like I said, trying to bait Jake Paul into making him the opponent again. Who knows? But as for the legitimate fighting, we got this news this week. Israel Adesanya is taking a break. He said, I'm going to take time to look after myself, and I'm not going to fight for a long time. I'm definitely not going to retire, because I know me. I'm not leaving like that. So he said a little more, but that was the gist of it. Basically, he wants to take some time, which he should, because he has been one of the most active champions to date. I mean, he's got the most title fights since 2019 with 11. 11 title fights since 2019. That's like less than 4 years total. And, just about 4 years, he's had 11 fights. Most people fight at the most 3 times a year, which would make 9 fights, which is what Valentina Shevchenko, the closest, person behind him with 9 is Valentina. And you got Volkanovski with 8, Mauro Usman with 8, Amanda Nunes 7, and so on. So even Max Holloway with 5, like, Max Holloway's reign seemed like forever. But Izzy had 11. I think it's time for him to take a break. You would see him everywhere at all of the events, especially when his teammates were fighting. He was everywhere. Australia, New Zealand, I think he went to Abu Dhabi once. Everywhere he's fighting, everywhere his friends are fighting, he's everywhere, doing everything. So I feel like it is time for him to take a step back, take a little break, let his body fully heal, take some time away, get your thoughts together, get your mind right. You know, you had 2 majorly upsetting losses in less than a year, while also having this complete crazy high of getting that rematch and winning. So to have done all that shit, I feel like it's probably in his best interest to take some time away from the sport and collect himself. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I mean, a lot of the haters are gonna all say, oh, it's because Izzy's done, he's out of his prime, blah 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 blah. How many people have done this though? Like taking the time away, coming back, a new fighter, a new man. And sometimes it doesn't bid well, you know, like sometimes you go away for too long and you're out of it, and your first fight back you lose because, you know, you got that ring rust, you got this, you got that, you're mentally not in it, you weren't ready, you came back too fast, you had injuries, unforeseen circumstances, you know, family problems, friend problems, media problems, like who knows what could be happening. But you come back with that first fight, you lose, and then all of a sudden you're back in that spot where you're like, what am I doing, what's happening? Or you just come back as a new refreshed fighter and just wreck shit like he was before. Everyone's major title reign comes to an end, whether it's because you lose, or it's because you retire, or it's because you go somewhere else because you're done with MMA. You know, plain and simple. It ends no matter what. So this is his way of ending this reign right now. This run that he's had, he's ending it now, and he's going to take some time away. I don't think it's going to be more than a year. I kind of think it's going to be less than a year, but it'll be pushing into that third quarter of the year third quarter of the year off that he's taking that he actually fights. It'll be like 9, 10, 11 months in, and he'll have a fight. I can almost guarantee it. But that's just me. Those are just my thoughts on it. But you know, overall, I do feel like him taking a break is a good thing, and I feel like that's what needs to happen for him, and I hope that it does him well. So we're moving on to another fight that was announced, which is pretty goddamn exciting. Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, BKFC 56, was announced yesterday, and at the top of that card, pretty fucking exciting. Mike Perry, who was supposed to be a replacement fighter in the Prime card that we just talked about, and he was there for the backup, to be the backup fighter, but because he wasn't needed, and he tried to find a way to get involved and fight somehow, he did not wind up fighting, and he did come out with an opponent for a big bare knuckle fight against the Underground King Eddie Alvarez, and I think that's a badass. That is a badass fight. Alvarez fought against Chad Mendes in his debut for bare knuckle fighting, and he did pretty well, but I feel like he could do better, and he felt the same way. He looks fucking huge. He's ripped. I think they're going to be fighting at 175 pounds. So that's a little higher, I believe, than Mike Perry's been fighting. Or maybe it's lower. I think he might have fought at 185 before. So it's higher for Eddie Alvarez, a little lower for Mike Perry. But I'm pretty hyped about this one. I cannot wait. I will watch this one because, I mean, come on. Mike Perry, who's like the king of bare knuckle fighting right now, fighting against the Underground King, Eddie Alvarez. Like, come on. This is just meant to be. And this seems like what both these guys should be fucking doing at this point in their careers. And I applaud it. I love it. I think it's fucking dope. And honestly, it'll be a badass fight. I know it. Now, I don't know if Eddie Alvarez has the skill to take out Mike Perry, because Mike Perry has looked so goddamn good in bare knuckle fighting. But it's going to be exciting. And then to top it off, we have Ben Rothwell versus Todd Duffy, both former UFC fighters, heavyweights. Ben Rothwell's looked fucking amazing in BKFC, so that should be a goddamn good fight too, because Todd Duffy is a banger too. That fool goes toe to toe with people and just slugs it out. So that mixed with Ben Rothwell and bare knuckles, get the fuck out of here. You know this shit's gonna be good. So I'm excited for this, man. I mean, I don't watch BKFC all the time, but when you get a card like this, fuck yes, let's do it. So this is happening December 2nd in Salt Lake City, Utah. And it's streaming on the BKFC app. So yeah, I assume this is gonna be a pay-per-view. But I don't know. We'll see, I guess, when we get closer to it. But December 2nd, that's gonna be a goddamn good fight. You also have Ferreira versus Rawlings. Beck Rawlings is a former UFC fighter as well, a former champion in BKFC. So that should be a damn good fight. Adams versus, let's see, who is this? Arnold Adams versus Mick Terrell. Oh, and Jeremy Stevens versus Jimmy Rivera. What the fuck? This card is stacked. Like, this shit's gonna be crazy. Yeah, that should be, oh man, I didn't even know about that one. Jeremy Stevens versus Jimmy Rivera. That should be a banger too. Fuck yeah. So I'm excited for this card. It should be a good one. I can't wait to get into it and go through it when it comes time. Do a little preview, show some excitement for it, because I am excited for that one for sure. So yeah, that I think wraps it up for Combat Sports News, except for, once again, don't forget, Watch Party Podcast, this Saturday, October 21st, 11 a.m. Arizona time. Figure out the time in your area if you're watching this from other parts of the country, other parts of the world. But whenever the UFC 294 main card is starting, I will be live with the podcast. Reactions to all the fights, and some other talk, of course, throughout the time. Maybe I'll go through some Combat Sports News, whatever might be happening between now and then. And also, I'll have some pop-up kind of guests here and there. I don't have anybody fully confirmed yet, but I have multiple people saying they'll be dropping in here and there. So that should be fun, you know, get somebody in here just to talk a little bit whenever they have time. Listen, all of my friends and all the people I know don't do podcasts all the time. Trying to get my buddies from the Rumble to join in if they can. This is a weird time. It's going to be the middle of the day, so it's a little bit weird. It's not at night. You know, at night it's a little easier. People put aside that time and come in and want to watch the fights at that time. That's what time they're used to it happening, is prime time in the evening. But this is happening during the day. So for now, I'm just throwing it out there. Pop-up guests will join in throughout the show. Might have Tenet Trin, my daughter. She might be jumping in. Who knows? Who knows who will jump in? We'll see. But it should be fun. And I'll be doing live reactions and everything like that throughout the entire main card of UFC 294 in Abu Dhabi. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. And Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. We'll be previewing that fight here in a few minutes. But for now, let's get into the recap of last week's UFC Vegas 81. Sadiq Youssef versus Edson Barboza. This was a pretty decent card. Not a bad main event. Nothing too crazy happened throughout this card, honestly. The mix of decisions and finishes. The last two fights at the top of the card were decisions, including that main event, Youssef versus Barboza. But, you know, they can't all be the best cards ever. And with that prime card happening, this didn't have a whole lot of luster behind it, especially being, you know, the fights that made up the card. But sometimes you get the best fights out of these lower level cards. But not this time, unfortunately. In the earlier fights of the night, Emily Ducote versus Ashley Yoder. Ducote got the win by unanimous decision. That was a strawweight fight. If you watched if you watched the fight or if you saw any of the highlights, any of the pictures floating around from that fight, Ashley Yoder got cut up. It was nasty cuts across both sides of her eyebrows. She looked like she had, like, her eyebrows were just looking mad and mean because that's how bad those cuts were. I think she had a total of 3 real nasty cuts on her forehead. So that was a violent fight, but it ended in a decision. Chris Gutierrez versus Hailey Alatang. That was a bantamweight fight. Unanimous decision for Chris Gutierrez. He comes away with that win. Let's see who else. Oh, Terrence McKinney with yet another fucking quick first round finish. 20 seconds into the first round, and he gets a TKO win over Brandon Marotte. So this makes, well, this is his second first round win in a row. The last one was against Mike Breeden, a minute 25. He had 2 losses before that, but then he had another win in the first round submission, 2 minutes and 17 seconds in. And then his first 2 fights in the UFC were also first round finishes. One by submission, one by KO. One was 7 seconds. That was his debut fight against Matt Frivola. And then his second fight in the UFC, 2 minutes and 11 seconds in with a submission. Like, this dude just first round finishes over and over and over again. Let's see, earlier in his career, he had 1 third round finish, but it's like first round, second round loss, but then first round, win or lose, first round, over and over. His 2 most recent losses were in the second round. You could basically bet on this guy to win or lose in under 3 as a prop bet, and you're gonna win because this guy does not go to decision. Not even one. Well, what was it? Once? No, not even once has he been to a decision in any of his 21 fights. Never been to decision. That's insane. I feel like this guy, everything that I've seen, everything that I've heard, and I feel like this guy's gonna be a star. I feel like he's a great up and comer, and I feel like he's one of those guys to definitely look out for, because I think at some point in time he's gonna be up in the ranks, in contention, and fighting for a belt. So keep an eye for T-Rex, Terrence McKinney, and he's a cool motherfucker too. I heard him on a couple podcasts. I like the guy. So and he has a crazy life story on how he got to the UFC and the crazy shit he did when he was younger. So if you want to hear about any of that, go check it out. I'm sure you can find any of those podcasts or YouTube channels that might have that. Just search for him and you'll find his story. But moving on, let's see. The headliner for the prelims was Darren the Damage Elkins versus TJ Brown. That ended in a 3rd round submission by rear naked choke. Darren Elkins with the win in that featherweight fight. Darren Elkins is the Damage. If you've never seen him fight, he's crazy. And that tattoo is just insane. It looks like, it's very obnoxious. It's very colorful because it's red, I think, with yellow outline. It's some crazy font, and it just says the Damage on his fucking chest. So yeah. Speaking of, I actually forgot. I wanted to show everyone, give everyone a little taste of the background. I was messing with this stuff with the guys on the Rumble podcast, and they suggested maybe to, use this as something in the podcast. And that would be showing a little behind the scenes. This is my studio. And I did this with the Damage on the chest, and I should have done it this way because this is my other camera. I have my GoPro set up as I was testing. I have a tripod for it. So it's a little behind the scenes here of what's happening with the podcast, and I just wanted to throw it out there and show it. It is a pretty cool little shot. You can see a bit of my background. As you could tell, I'm in just a normal bedroom. That's what it is. I've got some sound panels on the wall in front of me and on the door right here, just trying to keep some of that. So I get a little loud and a little yeah, emotional sometimes when I'm talking about things. But anyway, I thought it was a cool shot too. You know, you can see all my damn screens. This is a special screen I'll be taking with me from now on out of town when I'm out at work, because I complain all the time of only having one screen, and it really sucks when I do only have one screen. And of course, I've got my drinks. Cheers. Anyway, yeah, I just thought of that, so I thought I'd show it off real quick. Maybe here and there I'll find ways to, you know, get that into the podcast as we go. But continuing on, UFC Vegas 81, we had Cameron Simon versus Christian Rodriguez. Christian Rodriguez came out the winner by unanimous decision in this fight. But, you know, Cameron Simon put up a good fight. He's a decent fighter. I feel like he's got a little ways to go still, but he's definitely a good fighter. And I feel like he's another one of those up-and-comers that you definitely got to look out for. This is his first loss in the UFC, but Christian Rodriguez has shown and proved that he's a pretty damn good fighter, and he's just working his way up. And this was a 140-pound catch weight fight. So one of them missed weight. I'm not even sure which one, honestly. But moving on, we got Michel Pereira versus Andre Petroski. And I guessed this one all wrong, because I was saying Petroski definitely has what it takes to beat Pereira. Michel is just one of those flashy guys that does crazy shit. But and he just hasn't looked the best in his recent fights. But he definitely had what it took to beat Petroski. Big punches, got him to the ground and pound, and this was a first round finish by TKO in 1 minute and 6 seconds into the first round. So yeah, got him down quick, finished him with that ground and pound, and walked away with that win in the first round. So then we move on to Jonathan Martinez versus Adrian Yanez. I guess that's how he wants his name to be said nowadays. I just always knew him as Yanez, but I don't know. I guess that's what he likes to be called now. So anyway, Jonathan Martinez, though, even though it looks like Yanez is doing well here, Martinez came back and kind of dominated. Wound up getting a TKO win by leg kicks, because he had these nasty leg kicks on Yanez, and Adrian had no idea what to do with them. He looked like he had never trained how to check a kick whatsoever. As you can see here, his legs are red, they're beaten up, and he got the shit kicked out of those legs. And this wound up, I mean, they almost stopped it in the first round, because Martinez was kicking his legs so bad that he kept dropping him. And then I'm sure he got that nerve on his calf that wound up giving him that drop foot at some point in time. But hey, Yanez is a warrior, and he fucking held in and held it together through to the second round. But he didn't have much to give after that. Wound up halfway through the second round, got dropped, couldn't really get up, and the ref saw enough. TKO win for Jonathan Martinez in the second round against Adrian Yanez. That's nasty leg kicks, man. I think that makes Martinez only the third person in the UFC to finish a fight by leg kicks, which is pretty impressive. Leg kicks are no fucking joke, that's for sure. So yeah, to beat up somebody's legs that bad that they just can't even stand anymore and they gotta call the fight, that you're a badass. And those are some lethal fucking kicks. So good on Martinez for that one. Moving on to Jennifer Maia versus Viviane Araújo. I was thinking this would be finished, either a submission by Maia or a TKO by Araújo, because Araújo, you know, she likes to strike, she lands, she hits hard, but it seemed like she got the best of Maia with the stand-up here for the most part. You know, she landed a lot of good punches on the chin. She's a pretty accurate striker, and when she lands hard, and that's been shown in past fights, and she just continues on that path of being a great striker and a hard puncher. And she even threw in some sub attempts here and there. You know, that's usually Maya has good enough striking to set up her takedowns or set up getting it to the ground, so then she can throw in a submission. But this time Araujo was all over all of it, attempted everything, but wound up getting the unanimous decision win over Jennifer Maia in that flyweight fight. And that brings us to the main event, Sodiq Yusuff versus, whoops, pushing the wrong button. Sodiq Yusuff versus Edson Barboza. And to be honest with you, like, I didn't watch this whole fight, but it looked to me when I started watching it that Yusuff was going to run away with this. It seemed like he was doing the most damage to start off the fight, and Barboza was showing that damage. I mean, you could see Yusuff got lots of great strikes, significant strikes in on Edson Barboza, and it was a pretty good fight, pretty good back and forth. But in the end, Barboza got the best of Sodiq and handed him his first loss in, hold on, I gotta double check, because this is his first loss in the past. I'm sorry, he was on a two fight winning streak. I can't talk. He was on a 2-fight winning streak, so he's Barboza snaps that for Yusuff, and just showed and proved that he's still the Barboza we all know. Threw in some of those spinning wheel kicks in there as well. This makes for his second fight in a row with a win. He had that impressive KO, that knee to the head to Billy Q back in April. So Barboza's just looking to keep that winning streak alive and keep fighting as well as he has been lately. So that was it for UFC Vegas 81. Now let's get into UFC 294. Oh no. I love it when I screw things up. What did I do here? There we go. All right. And that's because I forgot to show one thing, which was the Barboza sub attempt. I get ahead of myself. Sometimes, you know, all these buttons kind of look the same. Like I said, here, let's see if I can go back to this real quick. I have my Stream Deck right here. So if you're watching this, little behind the scenes again, this is my Stream Deck. So I do have to look. I've been trying to figure out ways to maybe get an arm like this, or an arm of some sort, maybe bring it out this way or kind of from under the monitor and have this kind of raised a little bit, so I have it right here. So I'm pushing it here instead of down here, because when I'm looking up and I'm looking this way, I tend to lose track of where my buttons are, like which button I'm on next. So if I sit here like this, it kind of gets tiring, you know, and then I start talking with my hands. I don't know. Yeah, I lose track. It is what it is. But yeah, it's just something I try to improve on my stuff all the time, make it more efficient, make it better. And like I said, I'm just doing this as a little behind the scenes. I thought it was kind of cool too. The guys brought it up as an idea to do during the podcast, and I agreed. Not a bad idea. So anyway, this is why sometimes I fuck up my buttons, because I have to go through my screens here, and I try to color code everything to like be obvious on what I'm doing and what might be the difference, but I still fuck it up. That's what happens. So anyway, now I have to get back to the right page, and that's always a chore too. Usually I don't deviate from what I'm doing here, so that I don't confuse myself and fuck it all up and start pressing buttons wrong. But I should be grateful that I even have something like this for me to make this all easier. Otherwise it would all be just, you know, working with the mouse and clicking things on and off. So that would suck. And then I can do multiple tasks with one button using the Stream Deck. So I should be excited and happy that I have it. I just have to learn how to not forget what buttons I'm pressing. Anyway, back to the fights. Islam Makhachev versus Alex Volkanovski. Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. Those are the main and co-main event for this fight. Makhachev versus Volkanovski is a lightweight championship fight. So Volkanovski's coming up from featherweight to fight Islam Makhachev for the second time. So this is a rematch fight. Now, this wasn't the original fight, as we all know. This is a replacement fight with Volkanovski stepping in on 12 days notice because the original opponent, which was holy shit, Charles Oliveira. I almost forgot. It's been so crazy. Charles Oliveira was supposed to be rematching Islam Makhachev to get his belt back, and Oliveira wound up getting a nasty cut on his eyebrow, just split that shit wide open. So, and they tried to kind of cover it up or whatnot, but they didn't do a good job of that. So Oliveira was not cleared to fight, so they had to find a replacement, which wound up being on Alex Volkanovski. I don't know why I keep saying Andre. I think I'm thinking of Petrosky, who I was just talking about. But Kamaru Usman is fighting Khamzat Chimaev. This is also a replacement fight for Chimaev. He was originally supposed to be fighting Paulo Costa, and Costa wound up with a nasty infection in his elbow. Has had to have like 3 or 4 different surgeries. He showed a picture on social media the other day. It looks nasty. He's got like a hole in his elbow, and it almost looks like he got burned. It's a nasty situation for Costa. So hopefully he gets well soon and that heals up for him fast, because when you get staph and start winding up with holes in your skin, that's dangerous, and that could be bad news for his future with fighting. So he needs to get that healed up quickly and correctly. So good luck to him on that one. And same with Oliveira. You know, that was a nasty gash, but usually those cuts will heal up. He just has a lot of scar tissue. So, you know, that thing opened up, and it opened up bad, and there's not much they could do about it. So, but moving on to the lower parts of this card, there is not a ton going on down here. We do have this cyborg looking fucking crazy motherfucker named Cherabutin Magomedov. He's a ginger who looks, and he had some kind of issue with one of his eyes, so he has like a discolored eye. He looks fucking crazy. And yeah, he's a Russian, Dagestani, I don't know where exactly he's from, but he is a scary looking motherfucker, and a lot of people have been talking about him. He's from Moscow. But Sharabullet, that's what his nickname is. He's 11-0 in MMA. This is his debut in the UFC. But here's the thing. He beat the shit out of some guy in some kind of mall or something, because the guy was, I guess, kissing his girlfriend or something, and to these guys in Russia, that's like disrespectful. So this dude beat the shit out of him. It was crazy. I don't know, but he's fighting Bruno Silva to start off the night, so that should be interesting. I don't know what to say about that, except for we'll see what this guy, if he has what it takes to be in the UFC. Everyone's high on this guy, saying he's the next like killer from Russia, blah blah blah. I guess we'll see. Then we have Victoria Dudikova, who is 7-0 versus Zhenya Frey in a strawweight fight. That's the second fight on the card. We got Nathaniel Wood versus Muhammadjan Naimov. Nathaniel Wood is 19-5, fighting Naimov, who is 9-2 in a featherweight fight. And as you can tell, there's a lot of fighters with the last name that ends in a V. And I saw some TikTok from some guy who does betting and was like, listen, don't bet against the names that end in a V because you're gonna lose. fair point, but yeah, funny. Let's see who else we got down here. No one else that I really recognize. Tim Elliott versus Mohammed Makhachev. Mohammed Makhachev is 10-0. Tim Elliott is a kind of a grizzled vet. He's 19-12. He's been around for a while, fighting a 10-0 Russian. Nope, he's from England. But Mohammed Makhachev. Anyway, 10-0. That's going to be a tough fight for fucking Tim Elliott. And, you know, Tim Elliott is a pretty good all-around fighter. He's got a lot of heart. His cardio's great. And he's got great wrestling, good striking. But I don't know if he's going to be able to hang with an undefeated guy like Makhachev. But maybe that experience will come into play. Who knows? But let's move on to the main card. We got Said Nurmagomedov versus Muin Gafurov, I think is how you say that name. This is a bantamweight fight. Said Nurmagomedov is 17-3. He's obviously one of those Dagestani Russian crazy grappler wrestlers. I believe he trains with Khabib or is related to Khabib in some sort, some way. I think it's his cousin, if I remember correctly. But anyway, he's coming off a loss to Jonathan Martinez, who we talked about earlier, back in March of 2023. That was a decision loss. Before that, he was on a 4-fight winning streak. So yeah, he's got good submissions. A lot of his wins are by submission. A few KO, TKOs, some decisions, but a lot of submissions. So that he turns that grappling into some submissions and finishes fights. So his opponent is Muin Gafurov. He is from Tajikistan. Oof, tough. 18-5. And he is coming off a loss to John Castaneda back in January of 2023. Unanimous decision. Before that, he was on a 2-fight winning streak, but he's only had 1 fight in the UFC, and that is that loss that I just spoke of. So this will only be his second fight against Said Nurmagomedov. That's a tough fucking fight for your second fight when you are 0-1 in the UFC. But moving on to the next fight, Ikram Aliskerov versus Warlley Alves. I mean, I feel like this should be a pretty decent fight. Aliskerov is 14-1 versus Warlley Alves, who is 14-6. Let's see, Aliskerov. I've seen Warlley Alves fight a few times. Aliskerov, I don't remember. Let me look at his. He's 14-1. Okay, yeah, he fought Phil Haas last. But he is coming from Dana White's Contender Series. He only has 1 official fight in the UFC, and that was May of 2023. And that was a win. So he's 1-0 in the UFC, 14-1 overall. And his only loss was to Khamzat Chimaev, and that was in Brave CF back in April of 2019. So his only loss is against Khamzat, which most people lose against. So that's against his opponent is Warlley Alves, who's been around for a little while, I believe. He's 14-6. He's only 32 years old, but he's on a 2-fight losing streak. So I hate to say it, but I'm thinking Alves is going to see his 3rd loss in a row here, which means that could be bad news for him when it comes to continuing his fighting in the UFC. But he has his last 2 losses were against Nicholas Dalby and Jeremiah Wells. He hasn't won since 2021. That's tough. He only has 1 fight this year. Didn't fight at all in 2022. So that's gonna be a tough one, man. I'm thinking Aliskerov he's definitely got to be the favorite, I'd assume. But that's something else I should need to start doing, is looking at odds and maybe posting those and talking about who I'm actually picking in fights. I know I talked about it before, and that's something I've done with Clark before, which, you know, adds a little bit more to some of these breakdowns. And I did not realize how full that was. I just spilled it on myself. That's nice. All right. I'm thirsty. I had to drink something. But yeah, so I'm thinking about adding that in to when I break down some of these fights, you know, when I preview. I don't do a ton. I don't go into deep breakdowns. I don't. Listen, I'm not a professional here. Giving some stats and some records and stuff. It's really all I need to know, you know, what I'm looking at for a fight. So, and then if you already recognize the names and remember, you know, how they've done in their previous fights and stuff, seems like enough to me. There's plenty of professionals that do full-on breakdowns that have way more knowledge than I do. So I give what I can here. But let's move on to Magomed Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. This should be a pretty entertaining fight. Johnny Walker, whether he wins or loses, it's in crazy fashion. I don't know why, but he can lose in the most dramatic ways, but he can also win in the most dramatic ways. So it always makes for an entertaining fight. But Magomed Ankalaev is a damn good fighter as well. He's 17-1, and he is coming off of a draw to Jan Blachowicz when they fought for that light heavyweight title, that vacant light heavyweight title. And then, of course, because it was a draw and not a very impressive fight, that's when they moved on to Glover versus Jamal Hill, I believe. Is that fight? No. Glover and Yuri? Fuck, I don't remember. No. Shit, I can't even remember now. Who the hell? But this was last year. December 2022 was the last time he fought. And that was a split draw to Jan Blachowicz. Before that, though, he was on quite the winning streak. Holy shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fight winning streak. Over people like Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, Volkan Oezdemir, Nikita Krylov, Ian Cutelaba twice. So, yeah, I mean, he has a loss against Paul Craig. That was his debut fight, but he's beat a lot of big names. That's why he was fighting for the title against Jan Blachowicz. But unfortunately, that was a draw, and like I said, wasn't very exciting, so they moved on from that, and now he's, you know, probably trying to fight to get back up to that title. So he's fighting Johnny Walker, who is 21-7, coming off of a win. He's actually on a 3-fight winning streak with similar opponents. He's got a win over Ian Cutelaba, Paul Craig, and Anthony Smith. His last loss was against the former title holder Jamal Hill. But yeah, like I said, he always wins or loses in dramatic fashion. His last fight against Anthony Smith was a pretty good fight, but that was a unanimous decision win. Before that, it was a TKO over Paul Craig, which is what you're seeing here in this picture. And then he had a submission against Ian Cutelaba. So this should be a pretty good fight. Not a bad fight to lead into these two big co-main and main events, which we're moving on to now with the co-main. Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. Like I said, we had this was a replacement fight with Kamaru replacing Paulo Costa to fight Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat hasn't fought in a while. He hasn't fought, well, it was 2022, September of last year. We've been kind of waiting for him to fight, though. Lots of rumors speculating whether he may have dropped dirty for USADA and they covered it up a bit, or if, you know, he was having some kind of visa issue. No one really knew. No real talk of what's actually happening, but he's finally fighting in Abu Dhabi against Kamaru Usman, and Kamaru is 20-3, former middleweight champion, now moving up to, I'm sorry, former welterweight champion, now moving up to middleweight. Yeah, did I say that correct? Yeah. And of course, I had to show this picture first because I love it way too much. Him getting a nice flush punch landed on Colby, that bitch, Covington. But who is fighting soon as well against Leon Edwards. But Kamaru, you know, beat him already once. Unfortunately, though, Kamaru's coming off of 2 losses to Leon Edwards. That first one being that KO head kick that shocked the world. And then couldn't come back and, you know, find his way back to get his belt. And he lost again to Leon Edwards, and that was March of this year. So his last win was here against Colby Covington in 2021. Which seems weird because we're almost at the end of 2023. And he's only had 1 fight this year, only had 1 fight last year, and he's lost both of those. So he's trying to move up in weight. Since Israel Adesanya is taking time off, he decided to move up, fight Khamzat Chimaev. I'm sure he's getting paid fairly well for it. But, you know, he's got great power. He had this big knockout against Jorge Masvidal. And he has really good wrestling and grappling. I mean, he's a really good wrestler. You know, if he gets you to the ground, he's definitely going to hold you there and ground and pound you. But like I said, great wrestling. He's known for his wrestling. But that's going to be tough against a different kind of wrestler in Khamzat Chimaev. You know, they talked about it in the press conference too. Khamzat said, hey, listen, you're a traditional wrestler. I'm a mountain wrestler. And to him, that means he's stronger and he's better overall. So I guess we'll have to see what happens here. And I'm kind of curious to see what happens with Kamaru, how he's going to come back from having those 2 losses against Leon when not having lost for a long time before that and being the champ. Is he going to come back looking rusty? Is he going to come back looking better? Is he going to come back timid because he doesn't want to lose again that way and then lose again for the first time, though, in another weight class? You know, it's a lot of pressure coming in on late notice. Sometimes that works in people's advantage, though. So, but coming up a weight class is tough. So there's a lot here. There's a lot of pressure on Kamaru for this fight, but I'm not sure if I'm really pulling for him or not. I kind of like Khamzat. I think he's a fucking animal. And I don't know if Kamaru is maybe just now past his prime. Moving up in weight might not fare well for him, but he's still looking like he's in great shape. And you know, but he has those bad knees. Oh, and that's the other thing. Everything was going around about him possibly popping something in his knee during the open workouts with Justin Gaethje. He's refuting all of that, saying it's all bullshit. Everyone's a bunch of dummies if they think that that's actually what's happening, because he said he got up and started hitting the pads afterwards. Said there's no way that would have happened if he would have popped something in his knee. So who knows? We never really find out until the fight's over, and sometimes we never find out even after that. So don't believe all the rumors. The fight is still on. That's why I'm, you know, presenting it here as if it is, because it is, to my knowledge. So his opponent, Khamzat Chimaev, 12-0, still undefeated in the UFC. He's just, I mean, he's undefeated in the UFC, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0 in the UFC. Half his MMA record is in the UFC, and it's all wins. Submissions, KOs, TKOs. There's only 1 decision on here, and that was his decision win against Gilbert Burns, who coincidentally wound up being this fight here that I'm showing. But on top of that is actually his toughest fight to date. I mean, he just ran through Kevin Holland, and that was a late replacement fight as well, just like this one. against Kamaru. But with that whole debacle when he was supposed to be fighting Nate Diaz. But yeah, when he fought Gilbert Burns, that was his hardest fight to date. No one gave him a fight like Gilbert Burns did, and it was bloody, it was crazy. They both showed lots of heart, and they both showed their cardio for sure. Unanimous decision win over Gilbert Burns back in 2022. So that was the only time he looked human. Ever since then, and every time before that, he looked like a fucking cyborg killer monster. So we'll see if he keeps that going. He's got a decent record when it comes to, he's got a great record overall. He's fucking undefeated. But late replacement fights, like his last one against Kevin Holland, and now he's doing that against Kamaru Usman, might not fare well for Usman. But again, it's going to be kind of a wrestling grappling match. It might turn a little boring, who knows, but both these guys like to ground and pound once they get a good dominant position. And Khamzat's always talking about killing motherfuckers. He said, I kill everybody, I smash everybody. So we'll see if keeps that same energy against Usman when he shows that he's got some skills when it comes to the wrestling, grappling himself. I just don't know if Usman is as strong and as well-rounded in that area as Khamzat is. So I feel like this should be a pretty goddamn good fight. And I hope that Kamaru puts up a good fight for sure. So yeah, that is the co-main event in the middleweight division. Now we get to the main event, the lightweight championship bout. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. Again, another late replacement. Volkanovski stepping in for Charles Oliveira, who got injured. And Volkanovski stepping in on 12 days notice when he just had surgery on his elbow like a few months ago. His wife just had him and his wife just had a baby. He has all kinds of shit going on in his life, and he still steps in on 12 days notice to fight someone who's already lost to in Islam Makhachev. But it was a close fight. It was a great fight. And Volkanovski showed some promise in that fight against Makhachev, who has beaten a lot of his opponents easily and handily. So this should be a tough one, but it's going to be interesting. Champ versus champ, but only the lightweight title is on the line right now. It is a lightweight championship fight. We'll start with Islam Makhachev. Here, when he won the title against Charles Oliveira, he does have good striking because he dropped Oliveira before finishing him by submission, of course. And this was back in 2022. And then his last fight was against Alexander Volkanovski, which was February of this year. So we're going into the rematch in the same year. That was a unanimous decision win for Makhachev over Volkanovski. But Islam has good striking, like I said. When he gets it to the ground, he will ground and pound you. Big punches against Volkanovski last time. He'll always land those good strikes to set up getting you to the ground, and then ground and pound or setting up positions for submissions. Except he did get Volk's back here with the hooks in and everything, and Volk gave the thumbs up when Makhachev was trying to get that rear naked choke in. And in true Volkanovski form, he got out of the choke and survived, but still wound up losing the unanimous decision to Makhachev to try to become that first attempt at trying to become a double champ. Now he's coming back for more, and you can never count Volkanovski out. He did land some good punches on Makhachev. He put up a damn good fight. He did not look like he was out of his realm, moving up a weight class. He just didn't seem to get the win, which is, unfortunate. But he definitely has the skills, and he's a well-rounded fighter. And I feel like this might be the time. I feel like even though it's a short notice fight, it tends to fare well in the person that is jumping in for that short notice fight. And I think Volk is like ready to prove that he has what it takes to come back and beat Makhachev, being that the first fight was so close. So I'm kind of rooting for Volkanovski. That's I don't know. I feel like Volk has it this time. I feel like Makhachev is talking a lot of shit, saying that Volkanovski is just in it for the money. But Volk has shown nothing but being a true fighter in recent times. And the fact that he's stepping in on 12 days notice without a full camp, I'm sure he's in shape. I'm sure everything's on the up and up, but he hasn't been training for Makhachev. But maybe he knows something that we don't, and maybe he learned a lot or learned enough from that last fight to come back and say, hey, I know what to fucking do now, and I'm gonna hand him his first loss and not let him retain that belt and become a double champ, which I would love to see for Volkanovski, especially now that Izzy has lost. It would kind of suck to see Volk not be able to continue to advance as he has been in the past. So I feel like this should be a great fight. I'm looking at Volkanovski for the win. I'm pretty sure Makhachev is the favorite, maybe slightly, but it is what it is. And that'll wrap it up for that. And that wraps it up for the show. Thanks for joining in. I always think I'm going to go way shorter this time. I had way less to show, but I still wind up pushing it an hour and a half plus. So anybody that's still here, thanks for hanging in there. If you're watching this later, I appreciate you and all the support. It's crazy to me to find out that people have come across my show from other parts of the world. It's fucking pretty cool actually, because I'm just some regular dude that likes MMA a lot, and I have all for a long time, and now I'm putting any of my knowledge to use. I pay attention to this shit a lot. I listen to a lot about it, so for me to be able to put all of those efforts into something that I also love, which is podcasting. I've loved podcasting for quite a while now, so that's another thing that I take pride in my presentation, and just being able to do this is fun for me, and I love it, and it's a great way to use my time. It feels like a chore sometimes, but most of the time it's just fun. So I appreciate anybody that's here watching, or anybody that listens or watches later. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Help me grow the channel, please. Send it to your friend. Send them a link. Tell them to like and subscribe as well. Hit the notification bell so you always know when I'm live, just like I will be this weekend when we do the Watch Party podcast, which is something we haven't done in a while. Saturday during the main event of UFC 294, we got the Going Rounds podcast Watch Party happening at 11 a.m. Arizona time. Don't forget to figure out the time in your own time zone, but it's during the main event of the UFC pay-per-view 294 this Saturday. I'll have random guests showing up throughout the show, hopefully. And if not, I'll just try to make it fun as much as I can on my own. But live reactions to all the fights as they go down. I'm excited for most of these fights, so it should be fun. So don't forget to tune in on Saturday as well. Don't forget to come back next Thursday. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow my social media. It's been going on down there. Going Around podcast everywhere except for on X, which I finally changed that if you didn't notice. Changed it from Twitter to X because I'm pretty sure it's not changing back to Twitter. So, formerly known as Twitter, we now have X. Go follow me there. It's Going Around Pod. Yeah, that's it. Come back next week for a recap of UFC 294 and whatever else is going on in the next week. Thanks again. Don't forget the Watch Party podcast on Saturday. Appreciate all the support. Have a good night. I'm out. Peace.